Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be creating this rain effect in Unity using the particle system. So we'll be using three textures, and you can find this file on the link in description. So thanks for tuning in. Let's get right into it. So we'll be making use of these three textures. We have the rain, the raindrop, and then the splash. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create the particle system. So let me right click and then effect particle system. So this is the default particle system that we get. So we just need to reset this, and now we have um an emission that just emit the textures forward. So if you don't know much about particle system, it's more like a source, the origin, and then an emitter, which is the texture that is being emitted. So that is what particle system is all about. And then we have particle configuration. So we have properties that we can use to control how the images are being rendered. So that is just an overview of what particle system is all about. To learn more about particle system, you can check out the Unity Creative Core pathway. We talk more in depth about the particle system. So first and foremost, we need to change the shape of our emitter. So I'm just going to click on this shape, and then from cone, we need a rectangle. So here is how our particle emitter look like. I'm just going to change the scale on X to 10, and then the scale on Y to 10. So here we have this our emitter, and then I'm going to change the rotation here to 90. Now we have our simple snow. This is a snow. So now we need to convert this to a rain. So we need to change this texture. So all we need to do now is to select texture sheet animation. So by default, we have grid. That is if you have several images on a grid box, but here we're just using a single sheet. So we can select our sprite, and I'm going to drag the rain texture here. And here we have our rain. These are very huge. So I need to reset the image size. So I'm going to go to the particle system again, and then the start size, I'm going to change this to 0.2. So here we have our simple rain. I think this is a little bit bigger. I'm going to change it to 1.1. Yeah, I think this is nice. This render are nice. So now we need to configure how fast the drop and the direction that the fall to was. So I'm just going to set the duration from 5 to 1, and then the start lifespan, I'm going to set this. This is how long the rain is going to last after it has been emitted. I'm just going to set this to, let's say, 1. Now the speed is how fast the particle is emitted. So I'm just going to set this to 10. Let's see. All right. I think we're getting something. Yeah, we're getting something. So now we need to control the amount of raindrop we're getting. So there we need to move into the emission. So emission controls how much particles we are getting per minute or per seconds. So here we have the max particle. This is the maximum amount of particle that can be emitted on our scene. So I'm just going to change this to 100 for now. And then the max, the rate over time for our emission is the amount of particle that is emitted over time. I'm just going to increase this to 40. So here we have more raindrops. So now you can set it to whatever value that you prefer, depend on the amount of rain that you want in your scene. But you should take note of the maximum, the max particles, and then the rate over time. So if your rate over time is greater than your mass particle, or if they are close, let's say if I set this to 80, you are going to get this effect. So you can see this, we have a huge rain falling. So it just depends on how you want your particle system to work. It all depends on you. So I think I'm just going to leave this on 80. And then we need to make our rain fall forward. So this is a nice trick. We can actually use the velocity over time, but I find this to be really simple and straightforward. I'm just going to rotate the particle source just a little bit like this, and then we have our rain falling towards this direction. So now I'm going to change the renderer. The renderer is how our particle is being rendered. So we can apply a material to this, but here I'm just using the default particle material. So I'm just going to set changes from billboard to stretch billboard. And here we have our basic rain. So now the way this works is all these raindrops are using the same size, but what we want is we want them to use different size. So I'm just going to go back to the particle system, and now the start size, I'm going to change this from, just going to click on the drop down, this drop down right at the front, then change it from constant to random between two constants. So now we have two value. So the particle is going to be from point 0.08 to 0.01. So we have this variation. So sometimes the particle size can be 0.08 and or 0.01. So now this is just it for the rain effect. So let's see our game view and see what it looks like. So this is what we have currently in our camera settings. This is our rain. So now what we need to do now is to add a sub emitter. So what is a sub emitter? A sub emitter is more like it's another particle system on its own that is being triggered or controlled by the parent particle system. So a sub emitter is a particle system on its own that is being controlled by another particle system. So watch this. We have the main particle system selected, and then all I need to do now is to go over to the sub emitter. And once I enable this, I can click on the drop down. Now I'm seeing at bed as control. Now there is no particle system yet for our sub emitter. But before then, there is something we need to talk about. So we need to make sure that this rain is hitting something. We need our rain to fall on the ground. So all we need to do now is to enable collision. So once the collision is checked, we need the collision type. So we have different types. We have planes and then we have world. Yeah, these are the two types. So with planes, I can just make my particle system to collide with a single object. But with world, I can make my particle system to collide with the entire 3D world. So let me just select the world. Here we see that our rain is hitting the ground. But we don't want this effect is triggered or is caused by the bounce. So I'm just going to set the bounce to 0. Now we have this second event, which is the rain is just moving forward. Instead, I'll just set the down pin to 1. Now we have our rain just fall down. So now back to the sub emitter, we need a different particle system. So now we want this particle to be played only when our main particle collide with the wall. So I'm just going to set this from bed to collision, and then I need to click on this plus button to create a new particle system. So now watch what happens. So this second particle system is being played when this main particle system, the rain drops with the ground. So now we can just right click on this, and then we have sub emitter 0. This is created by for us by Unity by just clicking on this button here. So now we need to configure this second particle system and make it work the way we want. So I'm just going to select this, and now first thing we need to do is to change the shape. So we need to change the shape from sphere to rectangle, and then we need to change the max particle size. Let's set it to 100. I think 100 is enough. Now we need to set the count to 1. So we just have one particle for each raindrop. You can increase this to 2 if you want more effect. So now the drops are just moving forward. But what we are just going to do now is to change the start speed and make this drop stick to the ground. Just going to set the start speed to 0, and then they are no longer moving. But now they are facing the camera, but instead I want them to lay flat on the floor. So I'm just going to go back to my renderer, and then I'm going to change this from billboard. Let's use the horizontal billboard. Now, instead of them facing me directly, they are just lying flat on the ground. So now we are getting there. So let's just assign a texture to this. Let's select the um, texture sheet animation and then change this from grid to sprite. So I'm going to assign the raindrop to it. And now we have this. So when our rain drops on the ground, we have this echo. So it's looking good. Yeah, but still not there yet. So what do we do? This is how it looked like in the game view. So what do? We need some animation or some figure effect that just scales this effect to make the rain look real. So I would also recommend you check out Pinterest to get a feel of how rain actually works or to understand how raindrop works so that this will also like boost the kind of rain or give you an insight on what you are trying to create beforehand. So let's check this size over lifetime, see what happens. So I just clicked on it, and then when I click on the game view, we are having this effect. So what this is doing is taking the size from 0 to the max size that is being set over here. So it's taking it from 0 to 0 0.5, 0 to 0 0.5, and that is why we have this effect. So now let's just increase it. So the duration is too long. Let's reduce the duration to like 1. I think 1 is good. Now the life start life one should be 1 also. So now we have this Repo effect or raindrop effect. So now we just need to like change the circle size, like the way we do it for the initial rate. So we need to move this to random between two constant and 0.5, 0.2, I guess, to 0.5. I think those would be better. So this is what we have at the moment. So if you're following along, you should also have this on your scene. So this is how it looks like. So now we need you need to use this final splash to you need to add it to our scene to get more like a splash when this raindrop. So I'm just going to click on this particle system again, but then add a new sub emitter. Now I'm going to duplicate um this raindrop by just Control C and then Control V. Now we have two of these, and I'm going to assign this to the second sub emitter, just like that. So we have two of these. But the second one is going to be the splash. So first thing we want to do now is to change the texture sheet from raindrop to splash. So now we have our splash, but instead this splash is flat on the floor, just like the way the circle is. But what we want now is to change this from horizontal billboard to, can we use vertical billboard? Yes, that will work. So yeah, we just have vertical billboard. So now this is what the splash look like. So we just need to tweak it a little to get the kind of rain effect that we want. So I'm just going to change the start lifespan and the duration. I'm going to set this to 0.5 and then this to 0.5 and then see what it look like. Now the size, I can just make the size a little lower. Let's say 0.1 and then this the maximum will be 0.2. So this is what we have for a rain effect. So to get a more nice feel, you can add more effects to your you can add more texture, you can add more raindrop style, you can change the color and the rest, change the style using all this configuration. But this is um this is what I want to show you guys, how to make a simple rain like this. So the good thing about the collision is this can actually collide with anything. So let's say for example, if you have a box in your scene, let's say you have a cube, I'm just going to reset this. Now this ring can actually collide with this cube and then all our effects are still in place. So I'm just going to highlight this and then you can see we are colliding with the cube. This is what we have. And this is how we can make rain. Like I said earlier, there are several ways that you can do this in Unity, but find this one to be really, really simple and really, really straightforward. So that is it. If you need any question, you can ask in the comment section. I'll be happy to reply. So thanks for joining and wish you all the best.